A big part of an SBA application is the 1919 form. It's a really standard form, but it can feel a bit daunting when you look at it all and just try to figure it all out. In today's video, we're going to get into a review of how to fill out Section 1 of the SBA 1919 form. Hey everybody, I'm Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate 2 assisted livings, and I created this channel to help people just like you learn the ins and outs of investing in assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. Hey, welcome back to the channel. In our last video, we talked about the personal finance statement and gave you a tutorial of what it is and how you use that PFS for SBA loans. And I hope that was a helpful tool for you. Today, we're going to get into the 1919 form, which is another form that you need as you are going through the process to get your SBA loan. There are a few different sections. So this video, we're going to be talking about Section 1 specifically, and I'll be giving you a full tutorial of what that form is and how it works and how you can kind of fill it out. A lot of it's self-explanatory, but I want to make sure that you kind of have a good way to walk through it as you're looking at it, because some of the things just might be a little off, and I just want to make sure it's clear for you. Before we get into the tutorial, though, I want to just give you an overview of what the 1919 form is. This is a standard SBA form that gives the SBA a high-level overview of the company that will be receiving the funds and the individuals involved in the business. So there are 2 main sections with this. Section 1, which is what we'll be getting into today, is the borrower information. This is the business that you're doing that's getting the funds. Section 2 is going to be the individual owner information. So this is done at an individual level. So if you have multiple owners in a business, you're going to have to do a Section 2 1919 form for each individual owner that has, I think, 20% ownership in the business, at least 20%. Once you've filled out this form, the SBA is going to use the form to make sure that there are no outstanding legal issues for any of the owners of the company or the company itself. The form also gathers some high-level information on the amount of money being requested and how many jobs it's going to create, and we'll get into that as we go through the tutorial. Let's jump into the tutorial here of the 1919 form. So what I'm showing you here is a complete view of the form. So this is all one big long document, sections 1 and 2 in here, along with this cover page on here. I'm going to skip over the cover page. When you get the form, I would suggest that you read it, make sure that you are comfortable with it. But I talked a little bit about 20% ownership, and this is where it talks to you about 20% ownership and why that person needs it. It also is going to tell you a little bit about a EPC, an eligible passive company, and an OC, an operating company. So an operating company is an entity that is going to go in, and I'm going to link above my video on how I have set up my entities. But an operating entity, an operating company, is the company that, if you're in assisted living, that is actually doing the assisted living, operating that company. The eligible passive company is generally going to be something like a real estate entity. So in our structure, in the video that I've linked up above, is our real estate entity is the EPC, and then the entity that is running the assisted living facility is the OC. So we actually had to do this twice for each of our entities when we're going through the SBA portion of it. So make sure you read through this information here. It's going to be really helpful for you in just understanding what you are filling out and give you some of these different terms and things like that. It's going to give you a lot of good information. Down here is Section 1. So right here, you would indicate if you are an OC or an EPC, and then the name of the business, the legal name. And then this is the operating business legal name. So if you're filling this out for the EPC, you would put the legal name of that entity that owns the real estate, and you would also put in the operating business legal name that is going to be operating inside of it. If you're doing just the OC, on here, you would fill out the name here, and then you would indicate OC. Is the applicant a cooperative, an ESOP, 401k plan, a trust, or other? So whatever is applicable to you, you would put in here. If this is not applicable to you, then you would just put NA right there. Do you plan to use 401k plan, including a rollover for a business startup, or a ROBS plan for equity? That's a ROBS is a rollover for business startup. It's a certain plan that you can do. I'm not super familiar with it, so I'm not going to get into it. But if you did an internet search for it, you could. There's a lot of resources out there for ROBS plans. So you just indicate yes or no. Next is, will a management company be hired by the applicant to manage the day-to-day operations? So are you going to be doing this yourself? If so, you would click no. If you're hiring it out to somebody, then you would click yes, and then you do need to provide a copy of that management agreement when you send this into the SBA. This is the primary business address. So this is where the business is headquartered. You're going to put that in there, your tax ID information on here, primary business phone number. So in the beginning, especially when you're filling this out, you might not have all of this stuff, and it's okay to just put your personal information in there. So, primary business phone was my phone number, for example. Primary business address, this is where, the address that you are using when you're filing your taxes, is what it is. So it could be your personal address. If you're using an attorney that is your registered agent, you could be using that address as well for that. So it just kind of depends on what it is. The project address is where the actual facility is going to go, or where you're doing your business. The primary contact name is likely going to be you if you're the one that's being tasked with filling all of this out, and you found me on YouTube and you're working on building this out. You are probably the primary contact for getting this form filled out. So put in your name, your email address, your business phone number there as well. This is a section where you're going to get into an amount of loan request. So, you're putting in a high level in here, what this is, and then this section right here is going to let you put in some of the different really high level purposes of the request for the funds. But you can see here, if financial statements provided to the lender do not include a schedule of business debt, provide on a separate attachment. So that's where, if you've built out a pro forma, this is typically what I will do. I'll try to put things in really big buckets to fill out these 6 areas that it gives you. But then I make sure that when I'm communicating to the SBA lender, that I'm telling them I've given you a pro forma that really breaks this stuff down for what I need. And then this is the amount of money that I need on the request. This is information that the SBA uses to see, how many jobs are being created by your small business, which is something that's really important for the SBA that you need to do. So, number of existing employees employed by the business. If you're buying something that exists already with your SBA loan, you're going to put in there how many jobs have already existed with it. This could also be owners. It could be that this is a new business, or you don't plan on keeping anybody there, so you would just put 0 on that. This is number of jobs created as a result of the loan, and so this would be how many jobs you think you're going to be creating, and this is how many jobs will be retained that otherwise would have been lost by doing the SBA loan. This is the ownership information of the applicant. And remember, Section 1 is the business information up here. So the applicant, when it talks about applicant in Section 1, is the business. So these are the owners of the business. You're going to put in here the owner's legal name, their title, how much of the business they own, their tax ID number, whether that's a social security number or an EIN. And if you'll remember from the way that I structure things, I have an entity that owns my stake in my different businesses, is the way that I do it. So I have, my entity's name here, and we call it just owner or manager or whatever title I need it to be, 50% owned. And its EIN number right there is what goes into it, and then the address that I have for it. And then if it is one of these ESOPs, 401k, or a cooperative, I would just indicate that here. It's the same question that's being asked up here as well. It gives you a little bit of a breakdown about what those things are down here below that. Now, this section right here, we're on page 3 now of the 1919 form, is a bunch of kind of yes/no types of questions. And they're pretty straightforward. I'm not going to get into it and read through every single one of these. but it's something that you want to be aware of as you are filling this out. You need to make sure that you answer every single question that is put in there for you. I'm going to try to go through and identify a few of these, though, that might be questions that you have. So a co-applicant, this means that you have two businesses that are applying. For example, you have a real estate entity and an operating entity. You would be putting that information in here, and you can see here, I mentioned this earlier, please complete a separate Section 1 for each of those businesses that are on there. So that's what you would do for that. Have you submitted a loan request for this entity before? If you've already submitted a request, you've tried to get funding for this already, or you already have funding for this business, that's where you click yes here. Otherwise, you would put in no. So an affiliate right here has the applicant and or its affiliates. An affiliate is, you've got, when we did our Idaho property, for example, we had to mark that yes, we had a separate entity, we had a separate affiliate that had received SBA funds. But then these next two sections, we are not delinquent and we are not in default. So we'd click no on those ones. So pretty simple to give that information. If you are marking that yes, you have an affiliate, then the bank is going to reach out to you and ask for the paperwork of those businesses. They're also going to want to see financials. And so just make sure that as you're getting into this process, that you have a lot of this information put together. They're going to want to see previous year's tax returns. They're going to want to see the most recent year's P&L and balance sheet. P&L is profit and loss statement. And they're going to want to see like up to the most recent month in the current year as well. They want to see like year-to-date financials as well. So as you're going through this process, you want to make sure that you have those things put together. If you're using a system like QuickBooks, generally it's pretty easy to put those types of things together. Are you suspended from any agency? Yes or no. Do you operate a franchise? So if you're a franchise, then yes, you would mark yes, and then you need to provide a copy of the franchise disclosure document or the FDD. The franchise that you're working with is going to have the information that SBA is going to need for this, but it's something that if you want to make sure that you are aware of, if you're getting into this in a franchise world, there's going to be some extra paperwork and a few other things that you need to make sure you're passing that along to, to the SBA. So this section right here is talking about affiliates. Again, if you read this CFR, so CFRs are, I can't remember what CFR stands for, but they are federal regulations, basically. If you are wondering what an affiliate is, you can click on that CFR link there, or just do an internet search for that CFR. It's going to take you through, and you're going to be able to find information on that CFR and what an affiliate is. And then this is, have you or any affiliates ever filed for bankruptcy? And then are you or your affiliates in any legal action? So yes or no questions there, pretty simple. If you're exporting anything, you're going to have to put that information in here and where you're exporting it, how much you're exporting. So this is around exports. If you're doing assisted living, you're not doing exports, but it's something that you'll just click no there. If you are doing exports, then you need to get this information. I would probably suggest reaching out to your lender for guidance on how they want this filled out. It's not something that I have ever done. But it's something that you want to make sure that you're filling out correctly. Have you paid anybody to help you fill out this loan application? Yes or no? And are you getting any money from gambling or loan packaging or anything like that? If you are, then you need to provide the details in a separate sheet. Number 13 is anybody involved with the business, have they recently worked with the SBA? Number 14 is anybody with 10% or more interest, are they an elected official, a member of Congress or appointed official, anything like that? Anybody that's an owner that's 10% owner or more, part of the military. And then this number 16 is anybody that owns 10% or more of the business, are they a part of the SBA, the Small Business Advisory Council, or a SCORE volunteer? So this is, I think, is there a conflict of interest here? And do we, just to cover our backs? And if yes, then we need to get a little more information into what that situation is. So you want to make sure that you're following that. And I'll correct myself on the military portion of it. They need to have a grade of at least a GS 13 or higher. It's not just anybody that's in general active duty or anything like that. It needs to be at a certain level. And then number 5 right here, this is just the part where you are signing it as a representative of your business. Remember, applicant is the business on here. So if you are the authorized representative, you're going to sign it here. You're going to print your name and then do your date and the title. And that's it. That is Section 1. As long as it took me to go through this in the tutorial is probably about how long it's going to take you to fill out. It's not a lot of hard information you can see, but there's some questions in there and a few things that I'm sure you're, I don't know what an affiliate is, or how do I learn what this is? What's a EPC or an OC? What's the difference between those? And so I hope that was really helpful for you. I hope you liked the tutorial. If you did, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get more informative content like this to help you through the process of getting your own assisted living facility or starting your own small business. In our next video, we're going to be getting into Section 2 of the 1919 form. So make sure you watch that video. I was going to put it all together, but it felt like a lot to put together, so we're going to make a separate video for it. If you are interested in learning more about investing in assisted living, make sure you visit me on assistedlivinginvesting.net. I have free resources over there, and you can also set up a call with me and we can chat through the process as you're trying to get up and running in your facility. And remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Just keep making progress step by step by step. If you are consistent, I promise you that you will be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.